Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about how to identify your core wounds and how to really listen to the way that you're speaking to yourself. And that is a big indicator of what your core wounds are. I feel like there's a lot of content that goes over the what are the core wounds, what are your needs, and things like that. And in my journey, I was like kind of struggling to figure out how to find those things, how to find out how am I talking to myself. And what I realized today, and I think a lot of it is just kind of being curious. So, being curious about emotions and being curious about um where you stand in certain situations, just like kind of like listening. I know it's exactly what I said, like, it's hard to understand, like, listening. How do I listen to myself? I think it involves just kind of questioning, and that's where the curiosity comes in. Like, questioning, why do I feel uneasy right now? Why do I care what those people think? And, like, going down that road of curiosity and questioning any narrative that you may be coming up with. For me, for example, today when I had a softball game and I actually used to be really good and just naturally growing up, and then I actually went on and played high school and college, and um so the skills are in me. It's just like I'm out of practice, and I found that I was like really self-conscious and just had no confidence. And when I got out on the field, I noticed that because usually, in my work environment and things like that, I have a level of confidence that I've built up where I'm like, I'm confident taking up space here. I'm confident being here. But when I was in that field, I was like, I don't feel that I deserve to be in this space. And that to me kind of just made me realize, like, what narrative are you telling yourself? Like, why would you even think that you haven't even made a mistake? Like, you haven't made any errors, and why are you putting yourself down before it's like justified? Um, so yeah, I was feeling like I needed validation probably from other people, and yeah, I noticed kind of a pivot to where, so when I was going down that road of like I don't feel like I belong here, and then a guy actually cut me off. I called it because I had the mitt and he didn't have one. It was like 14-inch, and he cuts me off and catches it, but I did I was there and I called it, and I like tripped over him kind of. But I mean, he still caught it. And so it was kind of weird because it was like, okay, did he not hear me? Was he just intentionally like why didn't he call me off if he wanted it so bad? The whole thing was like weird. And then I think normally what would have happened in that moment, I probably, would have been apologizing. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But I kind of just like I knew that I called it. So I honestly didn't feel like I did anything wrong. And part of me was questioning. I was like, well, maybe I should have called it earlier. Um and what ended up happening is he eventually apologized. And I was just like, or he said something, and normal me would have probably like people pleased, but I kind of like was rubbed the wrong way. And I think this is like the new Molly emerging, where it was like I didn't like people please. I just said, okay. And I like walked away. And um I don't think that I'm being like passive aggressive in that regard. When we later got on the field, I was like, so did you just not hear me? yell out, and then he was like, "No, I heard you. I just I don't even know what his excuse was, to be honest." And after that, it was just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever." And then instead of like wallowing in that and like holding on to this thing where, yeah, he doesn't think that I can catch and holding on to some narrative, instead I just reframed and I just was put a smile on my face and then was like being nice to people and congratulating them and everything like that. And I totally felt the pivot. So when I was falling into this, like, I don't deserve to be here. And this guy is like coming after my balls. And as soon as I pivoted to like, okay, you do deserve to be here. Like, you're good enough and you've got skills. Like, just have the confidence. And I mean, it's easier said than done. Like, we'll just have confidence. But I think it does start with the mindset and what are you telling yourself? And I think, for any of you that are listening or trying to figure out how am I talking to myself, I think just kind of slowing down in a moment where there's like kind of high emotions or stress or anxiety, slow down and then start questioning things because that's when you'll start to hear, oh, what am I actually telling myself? And that's when you'll find out, like, okay, I need to heal this wound that I'm not good enough in order to stop telling myself that all day. Because when your subconscious mind is playing that over and over in your head in every moment, every decision you make, everything is driven by your subconscious programming. So the more like aware you can be of what that actually is, you can actually start to make changes if it's not aligned. Um, so yeah, I think I'll just keep this episode kind of short. If anyone's struggling to try to figure out how am I talking to myself, just start there with like questioning and slowing down in the moment, which again might be harder to do. But once you start doing it, you're going to start to see that pattern. And then what are you actually telling yourself? And that's how you'll know, what do I need to start with first? Because I'm sure there are probably multiple core wounds at play. So taking one at a time is probably going to be the best route for you. And in order to do that, if you're not already aware, there's a lot of content and videos out there that talk about it, but just identifying. So first, like, what is the core wound? And then identify what it is. So I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy, and then what is the opposite of that? And then start kind of finding ways of the opposite. So you are worthy of love. You are good enough. Just being who you are. You don't need to people please and you don't need to overgive all the time. You are good enough. And that's my big one. So that's what I'm working on, reprogramming. So identifying that and then coming up with, okay, so what do I need to do to flip it? And so the inverse of I'm not good enough is I am good enough, just as I am. And I've been working on this. Um, and it's been kind of hard because you have to find after that when you find like, okay, what is the way that I'm gonna flip it and reframe? So the opposite of that is I am good enough. And then you have to find the examples to pull from. So in it's speaking to your actual subconscious mind. It's utilizing the memories. So you pulling from actual reality. So actual memories that you have formed. Because that's going to draw out the emotion behind it and which talks to your brain, your subconscious brain, that is. So finding 10 examples is kind of hard because you have to actually believe it. And so that's why just finding like experiences and I guess I'm just really struggling with finding examples. Um so I guess I would probably say like um a time where I was just like relaxing and hanging out with the family, and my nieces were there and just playing games, and I didn't have to be on. I didn't have to be optimizing websites or doing all this stuff like earning my living and doing all this stuff, competing or whatever, like in sports. And I was just existing as I was, and that was good enough. And my dad, and that's a huge one. That's a huge person. He loves to just see me. Just me being there is like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And so that is like a big one too, where I'm trying to utilize those types of memories where it's like, we're just goofing off. And another one I guess is popping into my head is, us being at my niece's lacrosse game, and we're being just like so goofy and weird. And it was like raining, it was like horrible. And then we all have these umbrellas, and then we're like going crazy, cheering for my niece, and like her teammates all thought it was funny. And then yeah, it was just like, we're cheering for her. And just me being me was like good enough to fit in that moment and everything like that. And um so when you have those examples, you have to record yourself talking about it, and then you replay it back to yourself before bed, or when your brain is more susceptible. So like when you're meditating or after yoga. Um, so you're just more suggestible in those types of states. And you do it for 21 days, and supposedly it's supposed to work. Um, but yeah, I mean that's just what the studies say, like consistent um, you know, doing that over and over for 21 days should reprogram the belief. So, I'm going to be working on that, and if anyone has any insights or other topics that they want me to dive into, just let me know. And thank you for being here, and like and subscribe. Bye.